I'm going to show you how to generate SSH keys for use in PlanetLab. Anyone who uses PlanetLab is going to need to use SSH keys at one point or another. That means users, principal investigators, and technical contacts. There are two versions of this tutorial. One version is for Windows, the other version is for Mac and Unix users. The total runtime of the tutorial will probably be less than 5 minutes. It's really simple and easy to follow. First, some background on SSH keys. If you're already familiar with SSH authentication, you can skip ahead. Secure Shell, or SSH, is a network protocol that allows data to be exchanged using a secure channel between two network devices. It has two basic purposes. The first is to allow a user to securely identify himself to a remote computer. The second purpose is to encrypt all session traffic between the local computer and the remote computer. These services provide integrity and confidentiality for your data over the unsecured channel, which is the internet. SSH uses public key cryptography to authenticate the user at the remote machine. The process begins with the creation of two really large numbers. Think really big, lots of digits. One of these numbers is called the private key, the other is called the public key. You only need to create these keys once. The private key is supposed to be kept private. It should never be sent in email or left lying around where someone else could make a copy. The public key is public and can be sent to all of your friends and enemies. Anyone can access it, and they really can't do anything with it by itself. You need both parts of the key, the public and the private part, in order to use SSH. In order to further protect your privacy, you can put a password on your private key. Some people choose not to put a password on the private key. That makes it easier to use, but makes it less secure. Anyone who might happen along your private key can then access all of your resources. We recommend that you put a password on your private key. It's just good citizenship. PlanetLab uses SSH keys to allow different people to access a shared account. For example, there may be 10 researchers registered on a given slice. On each node where the slice exists, there's an account with that slice name. On that account is a list of public SSH keys for the authorized users of that slice. If your private key matches one of those public keys, you're going to be allowed to log in. If you're not on that list, you're not going to be able to get in. We're going to use a Windows machine to generate the SSH keys. The place we start is by downloading a software called PuTTY and another piece that's related called PuTTYGen. And the URLs for downloading that are visible on your screen. So here I am. I've already downloaded PuTTY and PuTTYGen. I'm going to select PuTTYGen. And the first thing I need to do is make sure I'm going to generate the right kind of key. PuTTYGen can generate 3 types of keys, SSH1, 2, and 2 DSA. I'm going to choose SSH2 RSA keys. I could change the number of bits, but 1024 is perfectly reasonable. So now I'm going to generate a key. I select the Generate button. I have to move my mouse and create some random movements so that the key will be appropriately random. Great, we've created the key. Now we have to save it in 3 different places. First, we're going to save the key for PuTTYGen. We're going to call it PlanetLab key.pub. Then we're going to save the private key. We have a choice of whether to save it with or without a password. We're going to choose to save it without a password. It'll make it easier to use, but not quite as safe. We're just going to call it PlanetLab key. Finally, this text we need to copy and save in a text file. So I'm going to use Notepad, paste it, and save it. I'm going to call it PlanetLab key.txt. We've now completed generating all the keys. I can close PuTTY key generator. Now I'm over at the PlanetLab site. So in the PlanetLab site, I'm going to select My Account. Under My Account, I have a section for keys, so I'm going to select that, open it up. Right now I have no keys. I'm going to browse the local disk for the text file that we just created. PlanetLab key.txt, which we see here. I select Upload Key. If everything works well, I can see my key here. We're all set to move on.